And
Oh,
welcome back to the TSF Entertainment channel. It's me, Retro CG, in the building. And we have the First Lady of TSFE in the building, Miss Really BTV. What's up? How you doing?
what's
You
up?
wasn't
What's up?
ready yet,
What's up?
you weren't ready yet, were you?
I was I was going to ask you something before we started recording, and then but I was trying to catch you real quick. It's nothing private or nothing. I was just gonna. I mean, we might. I guess we could cross over. Say, did you get a chance to look at the Power Book 2 stuff I sent you?
Whoa. I'm actually excited about seeing it.
Did you see
I'm
that?
actually
Wasn't it? I was
excited
like,
to
okay,
see
wait
it.
a
Yeah.
minute. Wait a minute.
We
Okay,
might
so
be
look,
giving.
y'all know
We might be giving
yeah, we
this
reviewed
season.
Power and we read for it. Y'all know we review all of the powers over here. And so I was gonna ask you about it before we started recording, but I'm like, we can go ahead and cross over so we can advertise and let people know if you've been enjoying our best man. Just know that we're gonna be recovering. We're gonna be reviewing Bel. So if you like Best Man, you love Bel Air, and Power is coming back next month, and we will be doing Power. So we about to be real busy over here at TSF. We about to be real busy. So
Well, tonight we're here to talk about the Best Man, the final chapters, and it's season 1, episode 6, An American Marriage. I'm gonna hit us with that intro, and we're gonna be back to talk about this episode.
All right, let's go.
And welcome back. All right, An American Marriage. First thoughts.
I just think I think this was a good episode. I just again I think the writers are doing a really, in my opinion, a really good showing the ebbs and flows of a marriage, you know, and I think they're doing a really good job of showing how marriages fall apart. I think a lot of times, especially when we get older and we're in a place where we've known people since they met, who they're with, we've seen them dating, we've gone through the whole engagement, wedding, and then they come to you one day and say, yeah, we go to divorces and win. And you always go, well, what happened? And I think they're
Right.
doing a really good job of showing us how these three different couples really, I mean, and I think it's realistic in a friend group. You have the friend who unfortunately lost their spouse and they're processing that and they're raising their kids and doing the best they can. We may not love Lance's decisions, but he's doing the best he can. He's really struggling. And then we have Nia Long's character, the single woman, the go-getter. And then we have these three couples who have very different issues in their marriage, but it doesn't lessen that they're dealing with stuff. So I think, I don't know, the writing team on this runner ever. I don't know anybody's name. Y'all can put it in the comments and let us know. I can look it up too, but I just think they're doing an awesome job. That's just me.
They are doing an awesome job. We like to nitpick a little bit over here at TSFE, so forgive us. Overall, I think we're 6 episodes into this thing. I have actually watched all 8 episodes. I know you haven't yet, but
No.
I have mixed reviews on where we're at right now. But I think you are absolutely right. I think they have done a tremendously great job on showing us the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, the everything that a normal real life marriage would encounter, even down to some of the problems. Now I'm not quite sure where we're going at with the infidelity yet. We haven't seen that part yet. We haven't seen that, but we're seeing the prelude to what could possibly lead to infidelity. So it's like you said, a lot of times in when we think that picture perfect couple that's got it all, that has it made, that oh they look so perfectly happy, we could also be perfectly blind to what's really going on inside that marriage. So I think they are giving us a very good inside look on a typical marriage. Episode starts off with the trailer for Unfinished Business, and we see all the characters, how they were portrayed in the book. And it seems to be that maybe some of the production team has maybe embellished a little bit of the characters uh, in Unfinished Business. I don't know if they were originally written like this, because my whole thing with Merch is watching the trailer while he's at the boxing gym, and he's upset with how his character has been betrayed. But let's go all the way back to 1999. Best Man, when Merch was the actual first person to read Harper's book. Merch was the very first person, because Harper was actually surprised that he had got a hold of the book. Well, I think Jordan was the first person that read the book, but Merch was the second one out of the friend group that read the book. My point, I guess my issue is, why did Merch have an issue with the way his character was portrayed in Unfinished Business all these years? Why is it now that it's on the big screen that he now has an issue with how his character is portrayed in the book? Help me understand that. I was a little confused about that.
Because he's not. Because two things, in my opinion. One, he's not, and two, it's hard for us to look back when we are no longer that person anymore. It's very hard for us to look back and be honest about who we were in that moment. So it's hard for him to look back and see him as, this gullible, nose wide open, chasing behind.
Shelby.
I think it's hard for him because, again, remember, he's in the gym because he feel like he got pumped in front of his kids. So I don't think I think that it's a hard pill to swallow to say, wait a minute. And then it's one thing to read. Books are never the same as a movie. So it's one thing to read who you are and the description of who you are. It's something else to see it on screen.
Hey, you did a great job.
So that's my.
You did a great job breaking it down for me, because I didn't look at it from that perspective. So from that perspective, I can understand now, because you're right. He is not the same person as he was back in 1999. And you're right. Seeing his character portrayed in the way it was, running in behind Shelby and, just kind of being the gullible, soft guy out of the group, I can see why he's bothered now. Now that you explained it to me.
Right. And all this, right. And also remember that a lot of this started because of what happened in front of his daughters. Do you think he wants his daughters to see that portrayal of him?
Yeah. You're right. So we then switch over to Harper and Robin. Harper's finally home. So whatever Tay Diggs that kept him away these previous episodes, he's back now.
Right.
I think he was out on maybe a book tour or something. Maybe he was out on a book tour, or maybe he just went away to focus on doing some writing or something.
He went away to write. Well, the way they explained it on the show was that he went away to write.
Yes. I wasn't sure if he was on a book tour, if he was doing some type of press for the movie, or if he was out on a book tour, but I think they did say something about he went to go write. Okay. So he's home, and Robin's kind of giving him the cold shoulder for missing New Year's Eve. However, it's New Year's Day now. He's home. He didn't miss New Year's Eve because he didn't want to be home. He was trying to get home. Flights got delayed, got canceled. I mean, there's really not much you can do in those instances when you are stuck at an airport. We just seen that here recently. I was trying to come see you. Notice firsthand experience. I mean, so I can understand her being upset because her husband wasn't home for New Year's Eve, but it's New Year's Day. He's home. Let's celebrate the fact that you're home safe and sound, and let's move forward. However, she is still upset with the whole she didn't get Robin's Nest or the little restaurant thing that she was trying to get going, the pay as you go restaurant. That's what she's ultimately
Mm-hmm.
upset about. But everything else is now a tie-in. And they begin to argue, and Harper tries to apologize for being a little negligent and following up with the realtor in regards to the restaurant. And then he also expressed some concerns about jumping into the unknown where this restaurant was concerned, which I felt like he should have expressed those concerns over the phone when she called about it. Instead of just leading her on thinking that he was going to call about it, he should have told her then that, hey, babe, I want to dig into this a little bit more. Or we need to discuss this a little bit more. And I don't think this is the time for us to discuss this over the phone. He then goes on to remind her that she's not all the way fully invested in all of her obligations. He started to list out, the fact that she had a garden that she was intending to, the fact that she's wanting to give more for charity. She's doing the cooking thing, YouTube thing, the Robin's Nest, which he does make valid points. However, I don't think they stack up to this level of purchasing a business and purchasing a business blindly versus her not tending to a garden in the backyard. I don't think those two kind of equate. However, she then starts to throw back in his face about how she's always supported him and the things that he's wanted to do. She's always supported his career, which she has. And the mere fact that he's kind of selfishly looking at this from one perspective, then they get into this whole big argument about the house, and she screams and hollers about she never wanted the house and storms off up the stairs. What are you thinking about this?
I mean, I feel like it's exactly predicted in the last episode. Did everything he said is what we said. Like, listen, I'm sorry I missed it, but that was a major decision that you wanted me to make while I was away. I didn't get a chance to see. Like, again, it wasn't just buying a property, it was starting a business. It was a lot of money, and I think that the other thing with him bringing up, all of the projects finished, again, that wasn't something we necessarily knew, but again, we talked about that. We said, this is a major endeavor that she wants him to just sign off on sight unseen. And yeah, I'm sorry he wasn't there, but I also think it was unfair of her to ask him to make that sort of a commitment over the phone. It was just, honestly, it was bad timing.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't there when she needed him.
Mm-hmm. And that's what she's ultimately upset about. And this actually kind
Yeah,
of
but we
goes back
called
to
it.
best man. Yeah, we called it. We called it. This actually
Even
goes a
down
little
to
bit
her
back.
saying she never wanted that house. Did we bring that up too?
Yep.
About
We knew that she
her
didn't want that
never
house. I
wanting
mean,
to even really move.
yeah, we knew that she didn't ever want that house
She did
because I
that.
mean, she pretty.
Right.
It was all over her face when they first went to go look at the house. So we knew that the subject of that house was going to be revisited again. So if she just let her true colors be known this episode that she really wasn't feeling the house to begin with. But it kind of goes back to Best Man. And I think they are doing a very good job on letting us see that things that we initially see in a relationship that we overlook, but later on, years on down the line, they come back and haunt us or they come back and revisit us. And instead of addressing it in that moment in time, we wish it away, ignore it away, and think that it's going to go away. But really, it becomes a bigger problem that festers into the marriage. I experienced some of those things when I was married, where there were things that probably should have been addressed at the beginning of the marriage, at the beginning of the relationship, that shouldn't have spilled over into the marriage. Case in point, I remember a scene, I think it was at the wedding reception or maybe at the bachelor party when they were playing cards or something. They talked about Harper not bringing Robin around and not really being seriously committed to the relationship. And he also spoke to the fact that Robin has had many different types of careers, and the catering thing is finally the one that she decided to stick with. So we know that over the years in their relationship that she's had different type of things that she's been interested in wanting to try to pursue a career in, but they never really take it off or she's never really vested the time in it. where it seems like she's fully invested in this catering career, and it's kind of spilling into, an activist type of situation. It's kind of spilling into now a restaurant. So she's kind of all over the place with this thing, but it's all centered around her cooking and the food, and she wants from farm to table type of cooking. Even when she was on the island at Quentin's wedding, she got enamored with the lady who had the little seafood stand. So we see that she's kind of building around her love and passion for cooking. But Harper is kind of reticent about all of it because he's waiting for her to say, well, I'm on to my next thing now. So I think a lot of that probably should have been addressed in an earlier conversation and not in the argument.
But again, it goes back to what I said at the beginning of this. This is how marriages disintegrate. This is how we get into these situations because people don't talk. People let they let issues fester, and then, like you said, by the time it comes out, then it comes out in
Rough.
her and with venom.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I was very surprised to see in the very next scene we see them in counseling. So they have decided to go to couples or marriage counseling, and both of them are angry. Both of them are angry about situations that are currently going on in their lives, particularly Robin's frustrated about the whole restaurant thing. Harper's upset about his career. So that's the problem in the moment in time right now. However, there are other problems that are lingered in this relationship that has probably led them to having to go to marriage counseling. But it was nice to see that they were actually able to come to some type of resolve. The counseling seemed to be working. I don't know if they were just making a conscious effort to try to make it work because they were going to counseling, because there were some compromises that came out in counseling. So do we think that the marriage is going to survive since we see some positivity that's occurring with the counseling? Do you think there's hope?
I I don't know because I think fundamentally they're different.
Yeah.
I think they love each other, but I think there's some fundamental differences there. And so, like, for example, I think they love each other, but I don't know if they really like who they've become. Like, something she said in therapy that made me take serious pause. And one thing she said in therapy was he is about acquiring things. He and I don't care about any of that. Those are fundamental issues. And that doesn't mean that they can't work. But again, Harper is he always wants to move to the next thing, buying a bigger house. I don't want to write this anymore. I want to challenge myself. I want to do something different. And I think she would be perfectly fine living in that same house in Harlem for the next 50 years and him writing those over again because it was steady, it was lucrative, and it was easy. And I think she would have been fine with that. And that's not who he is. So I don't know if in the long, I think temporarily going to therapy works, but I'm just people. I'm a firm believer, and you can't force your partner to change. Either you accept who they are and they evolve on their own. Because some people do evolve on their own. They change. Say, you know what? I'm content. Like for one point in time, I was chasing, but you know what? Now I'm content. But they have to do that on their own. You can't make somebody change.
That's
so
right.
Either she's going to find a way to accept that's who he is and adjust accordingly, or I don't know if long term it works. You know what I'm saying?
Good point. I think for me right now, if I just had to place a bet on it, I don't think there's much hope for this marriage. And I don't think that there is no hope for the marriage because there isn't love. I agree with you. I believe there is love in the relationship. They have a child. It was a very difficult pregnancy and birth for her. So I think for that, they will always have a special bond. However, I think that they have grown apart. And it's okay to Sometimes people think that the worst thing in the world is a divorce and closing the door on a marriage. Sometimes we don't always get married for the right reasons. Thus, it's not gonna last. Sometimes we make just like we make poor decisions in life in general. Sometimes we make poor decisions in going into a marriage. So because a marriage ends, that doesn't necessarily mean that it ended because of a bad reason. It doesn't necessarily mean that a marriage ended because of infidelity. It doesn't mean a marriage ended because of abuse. Sometimes a marriage can end simply because we have grown apart. I'm on a different page in life, and uh, a lot of it has to do with your maturity level and how you mature in age over the years. Some people grow and learn how to move forward in life from that growth. And some people are kind of stuck in a position in life where they're not willing to accept change and they're not willing to compromise and they're not willing to adapt. So I think for those reasons is why I feel the marriage is going to end. I don't think that Harper is going to cheat on her with Jordan. I don't think that she's going to cheat on him with the fruit stand guy, whatever his name is, Jaha, whatever. I don't think that that's how the marriage is going to end. Now, they may end up going to these other people after their marriage ends, but I think ultimately their marriage is going to come to an end because we are seeing it more and more in each episode. They are growing apart from each other. Distance, emotionally, physically, they are growing apart from each other. And with that, there is no hope for a marriage to survive and thrive if there's no emotional connection. But they also may make it.
I
So
agree. I mean, I agree. So yeah, I think Tyrell, but I definitely feel like I just feel like that is a recipe for disaster when you are looking for somebody to stop being who they were. Because again, I don't think Harper is being any like he hasn't changed. You know what I mean? I don't feel like Harper's changed.
I don't think he has either. And I think out of all the characters over the years, he is one that has pretty much been written the same. He's a little bit selfish. He's a little bit focused, and we've seen this through the evolution of his character. He has always been steadfast focused on his writing career. There has been no change in his character from that. So what we see with Harper is ultimately what we've always seen with him. And I think everyone else has just grown to the next level and the next stage, whereas Harper has pretty much remained the same over the years. And his goals have remained the same. He hasn't really attained any new goals. His goals are the exact same as they were in the previous two movies that we seen 20 years ago. So I agree. I don't think that Harper has changed at all. But clearly, Robin has changed because whereas initially she was that supportive system for Harper, now she's wanting to grow her own wings and grow her own career. And it's clashing with the fact that she's always been the anchor for him. And now she needs him to be an anchor for her. And Harper just doesn't know how to be an anchor for anyone but himself.
That's an interesting way of putting that too.
So
That
we're
is
moving
definitely an
on.
interesting way of putting. Go ahead.
That's what, in my opinion, that's what I see. That's what I see with this couple. Out of all of the rest, we've seen changes in the relationship in the whether it's with the male or the female. We've seen changes in the other relationships, but we've seen very little change in the characterization of Harper and Robin's character. We see more change with Robin than we have with Harper. Harper is just the same Harper that we've always known. Hate him or love him, he's the same guy that we met in 1999. The only difference is he's a father now and a husband. And to be quite honest with
Mm-hmm.
you, if you want to keep it 100, Harper has always kind of been teetering on the edge of infidelity to begin with. He was lusting, and if he hadn't got his ass beat by Lance that night on the bachelor party, he would have slept with Jordan that night before the wedding. He was going to sleep with Jordan that night. So Harper has kind of always been. Uh, I don't want to necessarily put him in the villain category, but he's kind of always been on the edge of cheating. This is the first time that we've seen Robin's character start to have a wandering eye a little bit. So, I mean, if there is infidelity, it could possibly be with Harper and Jordan because we know that this is something that has been festering over years. So he may be the one to cross that line first.
Excuse me. Maybe. I don't
I'm
know,
not gonna
but I
say
don't know. Maybe.
I'm not gonna say I'm 100% right on this. You know, I love to argue y'all down when I have a point, but this one can go either way. I think what's ultimately going to end up happening is that they're probably just going to grow apart, but we'll see where that goes. Um, so we get to Candace and Merch's place. They wake up, and I really just love their relationship. I really love how um, their family life is and their at home life is. But we also see that Candace is so focused on this paper, this dissertation. She is working on this around the clock, night and day, every free moment. At breakfast, she's working on it. Right before she goes to bed at night, she's falling asleep on the laptop. She is spending all her time working on this paper. And somehow, some way, it's found its way to the American Education Research Journal. And she's like, how did my paper get submitted to the journal? Come to find out, Dr. Tempe, I think his name is, the doctor, is on the board or he's one of the editors for the journal. So I'm still leaning towards that, what you were saying in earlier reviews. I think this doctor is going to run off with her research, and that ain't the only thing he wants to run off with. But I think ultimately he is going to do something with her research, her work. What are your thoughts on this? As an educator, what are your thoughts on this? This is what I'm most interested in hearing your opinion on. Uh-oh, really B, did I lose you? Uh-oh, I think I lost you. um, yeah, this Dr. Tempe
No.
guy,
Sorry. No. Sorry about that. Um. As an educator, what as far as her dissertation and being focused on her dissertation?
yes.
I mean, I think it's realistic. I mean, it's definitely stressful. It's definitely intense. Um, and because getting into this groundbreaking, area, she's definitely stressed out about it. So I think it's a realistic depiction.
Okay. And what do you think thoughts on the doctor?
Well, I hate to say it, but I saw this coming. I saw it coming. I saw exactly what happened. I saw it happening. So I hate to say it, but I mean, I think he's a creep, and we saw what ended up happening, and I feel really bad for her because
I've, she put a lot of faith in him. She put a lot of faith in him that one, that as a person of color that sits in a position that one, he was going to be a mentor for her and that was going to help her along.
right.
But I don't think that's the end of it. I don't think it's just at the end that he's going to make a pass at her. I think ultimately he is going to run off with her research. I don't feel like this doctor, we've seen the last of this doctor. And obviously she's
Well,
not
I
going to go
think
back.
I don't disagree with you, but I think where she's going to get the last laugh is that the cleaning lady walked in on it. So there's a witness to
Oh
what
yeah,
happened.
I forgot about that. That's right. The cleaning
So
lady walked in.
I don't disagree with you because I'm gonna be honest. When they first brought him on, that was my fear. One of the two things was my fear. My fear was either A, look at Alexa talking to you, either A or
Sure.
Siri, who um, either A, he was going to steal her research, or B, he was going to come on to her. And because it was taking so long for him to do anything inappropriate, I said, okay, he's going to steal her research, especially when he
Yep.
kept having her rewrite.
That's
But
what I was
then that
thinking.
when he said, when she was like, I need to meet with you, and he was like, well, I only have time at 8 o'clock. I said, oh, here it comes. Here's where he's going to make his move. I said, okay, I saw that coming.
Yeah, I
I
knew
hate to
right then
say
and
it,
there
but
when he told her that the only time I have available for you is after hours. I was thinking to myself, yeah, he finna make a pass at her and probably run off on her with her research work after the fact. Yeah, so he's a
yeah, but
creep.
I think the fact that the cleaning lady walked in, I think that's going to sort of be her saving grace, that she at least has a witness to. I don't know how much woman saw, but you definitely could see that she was upset and distraught. That it wasn't like, oh, we're in here, we got caught. Oh, oops, we got caught. It was, you can see in her face that she wasn't happy. At least that's how
And
I
she left
felt. But maybe
upset.
because that's what I
And
knew
she
what the
left up.
situation was.
Yep, and she left upset. Both of them left upset. The cleaning lady left upset,
Yeah,
and Candace left upset. Yep, sure
right.
did.
And the cleaning lady's response was interesting to me as well, because her response
That
was
may actually,
very
you on to something with that because I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking like, okay, has he tried to make a pass at the cleaning lady too? Because her response was like, "Oh, I know what this was. I know what this feels like."
well,
Because she
does the
kind of
cleaning lady know that he got a whole wife? Because he was talking to somebody on the phone, talking about, okay, baby, I'll see you later, love you. Like he was having a whole conversation with another woman. So the lady knows this man is a whole married man.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
And
don't
a creep.
know,
Yep.
but I think but I agree with you. I don't think that that's over. I don't think that's the end of it. And but I think the cleaning lady is going to be her witness, I should say.
Yeah, her witness. Yep. Um,
Yeah.
poor Shelby. Shelby is mixing up some kind of concoction to treat her menopause.
That
um,
said
Shelby,
age won't catch up with me. Like y'all might give into it, but I'm not giving in.
she not gonna give up this fight now. Meet me upstairs.
Okay.
Right. The fellows are playing cards and they're just kind of talking about life and what's happening in each one of their lives. And I really appreciate the moments like this with the fellas because I feel like we get we get a real genuine look at how they're feeling about things that are going on in their relationships and their marriages. And they really take this opportunity to be honest with each other more than they're actually honest with themselves. I feel like, and that's one thing I appreciate about when they have these talking moments because I feel like they are addressing things that they probably should be addressing with themselves, but don't really have the outlet to speak on it. So when they get together, they actually let their truths out to each other, but really they're revealing their own truths of things that they know that they need to deal with. And Harper ends up asking Lance how LJ is doing. What the fuck he asked him that? What you mean? What the fuck he doing? He all right. So we see that Lance is still struggling with the fact that his son, his namesake, is on this path of discovery where they're trying to figure out how they want to identify and how they're going to move forward with their life. And we see that Lance is really struggling with that, which we expected him to. We knew that from first inception of this that Lance was going to struggle with this, but his reaction to the fellas is like, I don't want to talk about this with you. We can talk about all y'all problems, we can talk about everything else, but this is taboo right here. This is Pandora's box. Don't open it. Don't ask me no questions about it because he's in denial. He's in denial, and he's also at the same time processing still. So he's not ready to cross that line with the fellas yet, even though he knows that he probably does need to be honest with himself and honest with others that everyone else is accepting of LJ's decision except for him. He also goes on to tell Harper, while you worried about my business, you need to be worried about your own and your old lady at home. So they also
Okay.
found out that merch is not coming to the game, so they're trying to figure out what's going on with Merch. And he's been kind of giving everyone a little bit of backlash lately. He's got a little bit of an attitude. What's up with him? So none of them still realize, even with Quentin trying to go reach out to him, none of them have really realized that Merch is not the same Merch anymore. And like, at what point are y'all gonna realize that y'all friend is not the same guy that y'all used to know?
Exactly.
He
Exactly. He's not
also, the
that dude
next
anymore.
morning, I think Merch tells them, or I don't know if he tells them in that scene, but I know the next morning he tells Candace he ain't going to the movie premiere because it's also the day of the premiere for Unfinished Business, the movie, and everybody's supposed to be getting together to go see the movie. But of course, Candace can't go because the doctor told her the only time he got available to talk to her the whole day is 8 o'clock at night. So you come during penny dropper hours, and then Merch has just decided that I ain't going because I don't want to be embarrassed in this theater with all these folks when they look at my character on screen. So again, we see that he's still struggling with that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he is.
Um, any thoughts in particular on that for you?
No, I mean I think I already touched on it when I was like, it's not the same Merch, and he doesn't want to sit through a movie that makes him look stupid in his mind. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it makes him look stupid, but I think that that's how he feels about the situation. Like, I'm not sitting through this.
Lance is in LJ's room going through his things, which that's really intrusive. I hated it when I was growing up when my mom used to go through my room. I mean, I didn't have anything to hide, but still, I think a person's private possessions is the thing that is the most valued to them. And when anyone is going through their things, it's an extremely intrusive feeling, whether it's your family, whether it's your parent, whoever. Just the idea of you being in my room and going through my things just makes me uncomfortable. He stumbles across a hidden compartment in LJ's closet that has within it all of his I hope that I'm not being insensitive when I say this, but has in all his female clothing,
I don't think
alternative
that's interesting.
clothing.
I mean, I don't think that's what it. He got heels. He has blouses. Like, I don't think. I mean, that's what it is. Is I mean, what our society identifies as female clothing. Like, this is what it is. Yeah.
And so he's like, Lord, you're gonna have to help me with this. Um Quinn is down in Brooklyn trying to meet up with Merch. And I love the fact that they all live in New York, but they don't necessarily all live in the same city. Whatchamacallit
The
is
same borough.
yeah, same brew. They all Robin and Harper, I think they're in Harlem. You got Candace and Merch there in Brooklyn, and I think maybe Shelby and Quentin probably Manhattan, maybe. Uh, Tribeca, they live somewhere. They live somewhere where the well-to-dos are at. And then Jordan, I don't know where Jordan lives. Jordan strikes me like she might be Manhattan, somewhere around that area as well. But they all still uh support each other and still come out and hang out. So Quentin is down here, he brought Merch some coffee, and they're trying to have a conversation. And again, Merch finally opens up to Quentin about what he's in his bag about, and Quentin's like, "Aren't you being a little insensitive?" And that's one of the worst things that a friend can say to me when I'm processing or if I'm upset about something or whatever. My feelings are not your feelings. So, what you may find to be sensitive, I might not agree or feel the same way. I mean, opinions are opinions, and I get that. But sometimes I feel like as friends, we don't always realize that the things that upset us on our emotional level or is always regarded as being sensitive or sensitivity. But everyone emotes and everyone has feelings, and the things that upset you may not upset me. the things that upset me might not upset you. So, sometimes I feel like we as friends can be very insensitive to the fact that when we see one of our friends that has a drastic change in behavior, and the first thing that we want to equate to that is, oh, he's just being soft, he's just being sensitive. Sometimes I don't think that's always the right approach.
Yeah, I think we have to stop being dismissive of it. I think we get, and I don't think we do it because I'm saying we because I know I'm guilty, and I don't think we do it with malice, but we get comfortable. We get comfortable with our friends. We get comfortable with what we think, who we think they are, and merch has just always been merch, right? The good time guy, the one that makes everybody feel better, the one that that you know what I'm saying? Like that's always been merch. And so now that's what they're looking. They're like, oh man, come on, stop being so sensitive. Man, come on, stop. And he's like, I'm not being sensitive. Like I'm telling you that I'm not okay. And I need you to respect how I feel. That's part of his problem. Now what I think is he needs to, because the funny thing is, and here again it goes back to I think how good the writing is. The person that I think we all expected to have a problem with the movie is Lance, and he didn't. I don't think any
Oh,
of us thought Merch would be the one that would have a problem with the movie.
that's a good point. That's a very good point. They probably was expecting Lance because we saw that in the first episode
I mean,
when
all of us did. Like, I mean, as the viewers, based on the original Ben, and they even sort of built it up like that because Harper has been walking around eggshells this whole time with Lance as far as the movie's concerned. He's been walking on eggshells with them. So it's like, I mean, so how you feel about the movie? He was like, I'll wait till I see it. I'll let you know. Like if this whole up, and then we get to the premiere. I know I'm kind of jumping ahead, but we get to the premiere. Lance is cool. It's
yep,
merch, and I don't think
yep,
anybody saw that. I didn't. Like who saw that coming? That merch would be the one.
yep, that's true. That
So
is so
yeah,
true.
again, I think that goes back to the writing of it not being predictable, but also realistic.
That is so true. Um, so Jordan is at work, and we see that again. She's taking something for a headache, or we're presuming that she's taking something for a headache. And she's reading this article about Terry Silver, aka Demetrius Mercher. They give him the worst names every show they cast him in. They give him Demetrius. She's reading an article on Forbes about him, and I guess his investment company, Infinity Investments. And so she's been doing her recon on him. She's doing her due diligence, and I don't know what it is that she has doubts about, or I don't know what it is that that's giving her pause where it's warranting her to investigate him. But either way, the math ain't mathing. So she feels like there's something not all 100 with this dude. Now let me dig into this a little bit more.
She just doesn't trust him. Like the thing is this, I remember Oprah saying one time, we all have intuition. When that hair on the back of your neck stands up, when that little thing in the back of your mind says something about this ain't right, the problem is a lot of us just don't listen to it.
Listen.
And
Yep.
so she just has, it's been, remember she said from the beginning, I can't trust you. Now I think she thought he might have another woman, maybe have a wife, maybe have some kids. I don't think she thought it was going to end up being what it was, but it was something she kept tagging her. Even when after New Year, she sort of let her guard down a little bit. You see, she's still kind of like she was at the premiere. We can go to the premiere together, but I'm gonna meet you there. Like it was just something, and I think that's what it was. I think it was just her intuition that something just ain't sitting right.
Yep. And so the
Yeah,
assistant
we
comes
find out
in.
that his company. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I jumped ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
The assistant comes in and informs her that everyone's in the conference room waiting on you, Jordan. Let's go have your meeting. But before you go, I'm going to say something to you that's probably out of bounds, but so please don't fire me. But she was like, "You're a great boss. You're a real boss. You handle your business. You dress well, but you suck at self care." And we saw that. We've seen that she does suck at self care.
Mm-hmm.
And so we know that, like I said in an earlier review, she's dealing with some type of medical ailment right now. I don't know if it's a condition. I don't know if it's just stress. We know that it's stress induced. Whatever the condition is, we know that it's stress induced. So Jordan's need to step back a little bit, pull back a little bit, and work on self. And this is coming from
Yeah.
a person who used to be a Jordan and didn't take care of self. So now I'm
Absolutely. Absolutely.
learning how to do me. I'm learning how to take care of me, and everything else that happens in this world has its time and place. But when it's time for me in my place, I need to learn and focus on me and only me. Self care, self love, self awareness. And we see that Jordan is, I'm not going to necessarily say struggling with that. She's just flat out ignoring it, avoiding it. Like she is 100% focused on her career, and that is it. That is all. What do you think is happening to our girl? I think there might be just migraines. Maybe they're just migraines. Maybe there's migraines, but this dizziness and this losing sight, I'm concerned. Aneurysm? Hopefully
It
not.
could be. It could be an aneurysm. And what scares me now, I'm gonna say this. This down. This is gonna be my first criticism of this episode. Harper's character. Yes, she's career driven. Yes, she's bullheaded. But I don't think she would ignore something this serious.
I agree.
Literally went blind. You literally could not see. I just don't see her. I mean, I could see her ignoring being fatigued. I could even see her ignoring having migraines, but losing her sight. And then she's sitting there, and Shelby is like, "Girl, you need help." And she's like, "I'll be fine." That didn't seem. That didn't. I didn't. That just didn't seem like part of her character. That to me, it didn't.
To me, that's a little bit unrealistic, period. Not just for her character. And I agree with you. Jordan's character absolutely would have an issue with this, would be freaking out about this. But in life, if you woke up tomorrow and couldn't see, would you be at the doctor
I'm
the
going
same
to the
day?
emergency room.
Exactly. That is
No,
not
I'm going
something
to the
that is not
emergency room.
something normal that
I'm
it'll
calling
pass.
somebody to drive. Yeah, I'm calling somebody to drive me to the emergency room. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Like that
I
to
need
me is
medical
not
assistance
realistic. And I
now.
that part I did not
I agree with it. I thought about that too. I'm like,
exactly.
well, why is she so nonchalant about this? Like, I'll take a couple of aspirin, I'll take me some Imitrex, and it'll be fine. No, this is not an Imitrex fix. And so
No, it's
she
not.
called. I don't know if the assistant called Shelby because I don't know how Shelby found out, but Shelby shows up to because
Remember Shelby works there.
I
Remember
forgot
Shelby
about that.
does that.
She
Yeah.
does that talk show. Yep. She has a dizzy spell. I don't know if it's like a lightheaded moment, almost near fainting moment in her meeting. The assistant takes her out of the meeting, takes her to a quiet room. Shelby comes in and says, "You need a doctor. I'm taking you. I'm calling an appointment." She then seeks out Shelby's assistance in investigating Demetrius because she no longer cans now because her sight, she's having issues with her vision.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that Shelby goes to work and finds out the business about Terry Silver. Terry Silver is out here. He's an investor in private prison. Private.
Yes. So basically, yeah, he's profiting um off of the backs of criminals. And the thing is this, when it's for profit, in order for you to make a profit, you have to sell a product. So the idea of private prisons is that the only way you make a profit off of a private prison is if they stay full.
Right.
So then it goes back to, are we purposefully, it's that whole prison pipeline thing. So are we purposefully pushing people through the system to fill up these jails so make a profit off of my private jail? And a lot more states are privating it because they don't have to deal with the money it takes to run the prison. But the flip side is, if the prison is empty, nobody's making any money. So what are we doing to make sure that we're keeping these prisons full? And so that's why it's just a nasty taste. And we, I mean, we also know that this prison system disenfranchises people of color, specifically men of color, more than it does anybody else. So again, it's that tangled web of, so you're investing in a system that disenfranchises your own people. Hmm, that's making me second guess if you're somebody that I want to associate with.
That's right. That's right. So Harper and Robin are at their marriage counseling session, and she uses this opportunity to reveal to him that she's not going to make his premiere. And eventually, we see them back at home on the stoop. They're having a conversation, and without the aid of the counselor, they came up with a compromise. Hey, I'll come to the premiere, but I'm going to have to leave shortly after because she was going to some type of event that for the community or whatever that she could not miss. And so they had a moment of understanding, and it really looked good on them to see that they didn't have an argument, that they didn't lead to a big blow up fight, that they were able to come to a compromise and one that was mutually beneficial to both of them.
Now that's interesting. We saw that two different ways. Because you saw it in a very positive way to say, hey, they were able to figure it out without an argument, without the counselor. And I was sitting here going, why couldn't y'all have had that conversation? Like, why couldn't you have communicated that? Like, how bad is your communication at this point where you can't even tell him, hey, my group, my business has sponsored this activity and I have to be there and it's the same night of your premiere. How do we make this work? Like, as a married couple, I don't understand why that wasn't an immediate conversation the minute you saw that the dates were the same. The fact that he didn't even know that you had this major event happening
on his night.
Forget about the fact that it's the same night as yours. You didn't even know that it was happening. It just, to me, I'm like, how bad is y'all's communication?
We did look at that in two different ways. Wow. Okay. You make a good point as well. Because you're
I'm glad that
you
right. Figured it out, but I'm just like, wow.
And you know, that part right there flew past me. I guess I was more so proud of the fact that they were able to resolve it without conflict. That's what I was more so focused on. But I totally missed the part of this conversation should occur way before now. We should have had a discussion.
Why you gotta wait till counseling and then you didn't even tell him? You didn't even tell him.
You told the counselor. Yeah.
I mean, this is a major event in his life. And yes, your event is major as well. But the fact that he didn't even know about it tells me where's the, like, y'all communication level is screwed up.
There doesn't seem to be much. There doesn't seem to be much. She doing her thing, he doing her thing. That's crazy. And that's crazy that we have that type of lines of communication in a marriage, that you out here doing your thing, I'm out here doing your thing, and neither one of us don't know each other's schedule. And that's going back to the conversation that Merch and Candace was having about, hey, I'm not going to the premiere. Can you take the girls to their activities? He was like, well, what makes you think I don't have plans already if I'm not going to the premiere or whatever? It's called communicating. And to be married to someone, share a bed with someone, and not know what their scheduled commitments are, that's crazy. I never looked at it that way.
I mean, today, in today's technology, let's sync our Google Calendar. At the very least, we could, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, some people that I know, I won't call them names, but some people that I know don't seem to communicate well their schedule. So I can understand it.
I don't know who you. I know you ain't talking about nobody that's sitting here right now, because that's not the case.
I'm talking to somebody about somebody that does similar things. Anyway,
that somebody ain't sitting here right now. You might be talking about. You must be talking about Juggernaut or somebody else. You ain't talking about me.
I'm talking about somebody I know and somebody you know very well that has an issue with communicating their schedule.
I communicate my schedule. You just don't like. You don't like what I communicate. I communicate my schedule well. You just don't like it.
Hit dog will holler. Hit dog will holler.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
Lance is decided to go buy LJ a Tom Ford suit for this premiere. He don't laid it out on the bed. He don't got him a cross. LJ like, why are you in my room? He's like,
The cross
he's
cracks
like,
me up. Like really?
I bought you a suit. He's like, oh, okay, thanks, Dad. Get on the room. And then
Right.
is this the point where they have the argument about his things going to donation?
No. Mm-mm. It's when they're getting ready to
Um,
leave and he comes down. But the thing is, he wore the suit. He just had on a blouse. But Lance lost it.
oh, he did have a blouse on with it. That's what it was. That's what it was. When they were getting ready to leave to go to the premiere,
Premiere.
he came downstairs. He had the suit on, but he had a blouse on. And yeah, Lance was very upset. Told him to go change his clothes or whatever the case may be. He was like, "Fine, I'll change my shirt, but I ain't changing who I am." So
Right.
that
I thought that was a great line when he said, "I'll change my shirt, but I'm not going to change. Like that ain't
no.
changing who I am, bro."
So I think we see Merch have his first match, and he does well. Uh, Terry Silver shows up to the premiere, and he's a bit of an asshole. Do you think that he's an ass? He's being an asshole because of the scene in the movie, and he's putting two together like everyone else has about Harper and Jordan's connection. What was the whole inspiration
Yeah.
behind his little comments and digs that he was taking at Harper at the after party?
I mean, just what you just said. Man, it's that jealousy, that rivalry thing, like I need to let like, okay, you and I think part of it is jealousy, period. But I also think it's a little bit of Harper involved in that.
Mm, okay.
Because again, remember they knew each other in college. So there may have been some stuff that's been spilled over from college.
And that's what it appears to be. There appears to be some unfinished business. um, literally. Um,
Just about to whoop his ass.
yeah. Um, Terry Silver got himself messed up in that club. He messed with Harper. They would have came and jumped on him.
Oh yeah, it would have been a whole nother situation.
Yep, he would have folded him up and put him in the back of that Infinity like Ghost did.
Oh Lord.
And Power. Merch goes to pick up his daughters all beat up, bruised up. They looking at him like, Dad, are you okay?
And Merck was being a real ass. Like I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know if he was just stressed out about the premiere,
I
but he
think
was
that's what
being,
it was
he was being a real ass.
to everyone because he even kind of snapped at Candace a little bit about the whole taking
Yeah,
the
he
girls
snapped
to
at his wife.
activities.
The lady, that lady ain't no he. That lady ain't do nothing to you.
The teacher, yeah, he snapped at her too. I forgot about that. Yeah. So yeah, he just having a moment. I don't know what he's going through a transition in his life where he wants people to look at him as I'm not a pushover. So I guess I got to treat everybody, rough and tough for them to not view me as such. They in the club, they enjoying themselves, they having a good time or whatever the case may be. Like I said, Demetrius, aka Terry Silver, is being cynical and smart ass and nose up in the air. I'm better than you. Making little comments at Harper in regards to Jordan. And I really like the fact that Jordan defended Harper. She like gave him the brush off and was like, well, you know what? I'm not feeling you right now, so you need to step off or whatever. Lance uses this as an opportunity to kind of lash out at Jordan because she's the godmother and she's supporting LJ's decision in his non-binary classification. But I don't necessarily feel like he should be upset with Jordan. First of all, he should be thankful that Jordan is actually a person that his son can actually uh, seek solace in. But he's just so upset and lost in this whole situation that anyone that supports it is someone that I have an issue with as well. So we're going to see Lance continue to struggle with this whole situation.
I'm gonna say this, and I understand Lance's frustration, and I understand him being upset because he's still struggling with accepting who his son is, and I respect that. It is a process. Like he may not have been he may not have taken it the best, but he didn't take it the worst. Like he didn't put him out the house. He didn't call him out his
That's true.
name. we even saw what he's praying on. Like he's trying, and I'm gonna give him credit for that, right? So, the other thing is, I feel like what bothers me though is if you go back to the first episode before when like that was right after his wife died and all of that. You remember the conversation that Harper was having with, I want to say it was either Shelby or it was one of the girls. And she brought up the fact that Harper was damn near living at Lance's house, helping him take care of those kids. Because I don't know if you remember, they made a comment about something about, I mean, I don't remember the exact wording, but to let us know that Harper was very much there after Mia died. And she was very much taking care of those kids while Lance was off at the hotel tricking off with the 3-4 hoes. And I don't
Jordan.
remember the way it was worded, but if you go back to that first episode, so I say all that to say this: she hasn't been an absentee. She hasn't been an
Godmother.
absentee godmom. She's been very there. So you know that. Oh shoot, sorry. So you know that everything she does is with the right intention. So again, I understand he's struggling and he's lashing out, and I know he's hurt because he feels like everybody knew but him. But don't forget who was real. Don't forget who had your back and who was for you when you couldn't really be there for those kids.
Good points. Good points. So I'm not. We're not going to even spend no more time talking about the doctor. We know that he tried to make a pass at Candace. She was able to get out unscathed. He didn't force himself on her. I felt like if the cleaning lady hadn't arrived, hadn't showed up when she did, he probably would have forced himself on her. Candace is really having a hard time with this. We see her break down when she gets home. I can understand why she didn't want to tell her husband about it. But at the same time, I have issues with women who do this, that have went through a traumatic experience and you keep your husband in the dark, because all you're doing is making the situation worse for when your husband does find out. Then he's going to go off half cocked crazy and do something stupid. But I feel like that's a situation where she should have woke her husband up, sat her husband down, and told him what's been going on. From this man has been making me change my paper around. He told me that the only time that he had available for me was tonight after hours. But to let your husband live in everything's all good world when it's not, and you're hurting, you're denying him his role as your protector and your provider to take care of you. I would have an issue with my wife if something like that happened to her and she didn't share that with me immediately.
So I'm gonna say this, and I hear you, but there are two ways I'm gonna look at this. The first way is, as a woman, sometimes we need a minute to process. I could see if she sat on this for 3-4 months. It literally just happened.
That's true.
And she needed, and you saw her break down. I feel like she needed a minute. I think if he had been awake when she came in, I don't know if she would have been able to hide it from him. But the fact that he was asleep, I'm not blaming him for being asleep, but the fact that he was asleep sort of gave her a minute. As a woman, and I mean, I've never been sexually assaulted, but I've definitely had unwelcome advances. It takes a minute for you to be like, okay, did that really happen? Oh my gosh. And for her, it's much deeper because I'm sure that mixed up in this with the whole assault part of it, now you're dealing with, what do I do now? I still have to finish my dissertation. He's my advisor. He is in a position of power. Is he going to hurt me? Like,
Wow.
academically hurt me? Is he going to throw my research out? Is he going to stop me from finishing this program? And I've already asked to change advisors once. How am I going to do that again? Because again, and I'm not saying she's thinking about all these things. I'm saying I'm thinking about, this is a lot for her to process. And then it's like, and what am I going to do? Excuse me. How do I handle it? Now, so I don't know if she won't tell Merch, but they giving her a 48-hour window, I think we're good. But the flip
Okay.
side is, and she doesn't know this part, but the flip side is the new merch. I'm scared of her telling him because I don't know how he gonna roll up, you know.
That's true. That's true. So uh Shelby and Quentin gets home. Well, first of all, we see that merch. We see that merch is asleep. Candace does come home. She processes. She goes upstairs, goes to bed. Jordan and Harper, they're having their soulmate moment. That's all I look at that as. They're having a soulmate moment. Everyone
Remember,
else is ditched.
everybody was supposed to go. Remember,
Yep.
because Harper ended up going to Sydney's event, and she was
Well, you are
appreciative that he
terrible
took
with names. Terrible. Who the hell is
her
Sydney?
name.
Robin.
That ain't Harper's wife.
No,
Oh
Robin.
damn! You know what, Sydney? That was her name. That was her name in Brown Sugar. Lord,
Brown Sugar. Her name, yeah, her name was
her name
Sydney
in
Brown Sugar. Yep. I love it.
right
That is
couple,
one of
wrong
the
movie. It was still
idiosyncrasies
her
I
and
love
Tay
about
Diggs.
movies.
It was just the wrong movie. Wrong movie.
Wrong
So,
movie.
um, so he came, and so I thought that was good. Like you said, talking about their marriage and everything, and him trying to save the marriage. I thought that was great that she showed up, right? But remember, other people were supposed to be there at that happy hour. It was supposed to be the whole crew,
Yeah.
but nobody showed up except
Everybody
for
went home. Yeah, everybody went home. Yep. And so we end the episode with Quentin and Shelby getting home, and they're kind of having a little playful moment. They're drunk. They enjoyed themselves for the night. But Quentin collapsed. And maybe this is
oh my
this is the
God, I wanted to
answer
go
to.
so bad when I saw it.
Listen, is this the answer to what we have been asking about the whole season? This is the couple that we have been rooting for. This is the couple that we've seen the most growth with. Are they going to kill them off?
Oh my God. I'm gonna be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised if they did because it's not unreal. Again, going back to the way the writers have been writing, it to me has been very realistic. In a friend group, you have all these different dynamics happening. Um, do I think they will? For me, it's a 50-50 that they will. But even if they don't write him off, I think he's gonna be really sick and Shelby's gonna have to really be there.
And take care
But
of
I
him.
hope they don't. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I just wouldn't.
But you know
I
what?
won't like it.
But you know what? That's going back to we're seeing the whole Rubik's Cube. We're seeing the whole 360 of a marriage. The ups and the downs, for better or for worse, for sickness and health. Um,
Exactly.
and I think it could be a situation where maybe Quentin's having a stroke, a heart attack, something to that effect, and Shelby may end up having to be his caretaker and help facilitate his father's care at the same time. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot that's probably getting ready to be put on her character that we've never seen her in this transition before, where she's going from being housewife to home health care. So let's just see how that turns out. And with that, that wraps up this episode. Overall, a very good episode. Overall,
Yeah.
I like the season. Like I said, there's a few plot points that I'm a little irritated with, but overall, I think superb writing, superb acting, and just overall great show. A great show. I really wish that we can get another season of it.
I don't know. They said the final chapter.
The final chapters. That's right. The final chapters would have been the final
It's the end
season.
of
So
that episode.
you know what? If we would get another season, it would have been called The Best Man, the next chapters. The final chapters would have been the end of this. Yeah, so you're right. So maybe this is a one season and done. So let's see how it ends. All right.
All right.
And any last thoughts before we wrap up?
No, now I need to run and go watch. You know, I don't like watching ahead, but I was so upset when Quentin passed out. So now I need to go see what happened.
All right, I need you to go see what happened. All right, guys, we'll be back to talk to you about episode. We got 2 more episodes to do. We're done. We got 2 more
All
episodes.
right.
2 more. Let's get it
All
done.
right.
All right,
Peace.
peace, y'all.